Greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome to this early morning, middle of the night bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click the bell icon. And folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Well, let's jump in to this early morning, middle of the night bonus upload, shall we? Today's first experience on the paranormal side. When I was in high school, I went to church quite a bit. It was by my own choice, and I really did enjoy it. I'd made a lot of friends there, and we did have a big youth group. We recently had a new senior pastor hired to lead our church because the last pastor had molested a bunch of boys. I think a lot of the depraved and evil acts happened in the walls of the church. Anyway, the new senior pastor had a daughter around my age, and we became very close rather quickly. We decided with another friend of ours to add some more decorations to the youth room. It was a Friday night around 10:30, maybe 11. The youth room was located in a loft above the gymnasium. There were big doors you could open to see the gym from the hallway outside of the youth room. Since we were with the pastor's daughter, she had the security code to get inside the church. So being late on a Friday night, we knew we would be there alone. And if anyone did come in, we could hear them unset the alarm and walk in. It was a 3-level building, and everything was pretty open. The doors to enter were just down the stairs from the youth room, and the stairs were only about 8 or 10 steps. We didn't turn many lights on, just the ones in the youth room, because we didn't want to draw any attention to ourselves being inside. About 20 minutes after we started decorating, we heard basketballs bouncing off the gym floor. Lots of them were bouncing. Naturally, we freaked out because we knew we were alone in there. Our one friend runs and pulls the car up while me and the pastor's daughter gather everything. As I'm running down the stairs, I yelled, "In the name of Jesus Christ, I rebuke you." Every ball stopped bouncing, and we could hear them slowly stutter to a stop, like when you drop a ball and it just lets go. We still flew out of there and never went back at night like that again. It was amazing to call on a higher power and have it answered promptly. I've never experienced anything like that since. Today's second experience on the paranormal side. March of 2020, my wife and I had just finished building our new house. But as it was the beginning stages of COVID, the bank required more things to give us a final approval, and our closing was pushed till the end of April. We had to move out of where we had been staying. We had planned it to be in the new house for closing. So a friend offered us to stay in his renovated shipping container. The container was super cool with a full bath, kitchen space, and a single bedroom. The owner had built a sort of commune with a tiny house, 100 square foot house, a mini apartment off that house, a shipping container renovated to be like a gym, and the renovated shipping container we lived in. All 5 units shared a huge communal fenced-in yard. The owner and his girlfriend lived in their own home 2 minutes up the road. Everyone seemed nice, though one guy just gave me a bad vibe. He was friendly, but something about him seemed off. It was sort of tainted the entire experience for us. He seemed very interested in my wife, which made us both very uncomfortable, especially because she had been assaulted by a man with a similar vibe before. Because of this, I was always on edge when I had to leave for work, and she would stay in the box alone. Thankfully, we had 3 dogs, 2 of which are bigger and would protect her in a heartbeat. Anyways, the energy he gave us really messed up our stay and made us even more eager to move forward with the bank so that we could move into our new home. In all fairness, the guy didn't do anything besides invite her to listen to his band and always call her Bud, but still. So, because of the mix of things, the uncertainty of the house, the creepy neighbor, the box with the 3 dogs, etc., we were just more wired than usual. So one night at around 2 in the morning, my wife woke up sobbing. She has fairly regular nightmares due to the aforementioned assault, and will sometimes wake up startled or scared, but she has never woken up before or since quite so upset. She cried uncontrollably until I was able to coax her that it was a dream. In it, a friend of ours had gotten into a bad business deal with some shady guys, and they had come to his house to get their fair share of the deal. For whatever reason, in the dream, it was translated to sexually abusing the friend, the guy, and my wife, who was at his house in the dream. She witnessed the dream assault, but woke up before they had gotten to her. As she's telling me this, I noticed the room was unusually cold. The air seemed heavy, and above our heads is this mass of extra darkness. While she's telling me her dream, I'm watching the swirling mass of darkness that is above us. Didn't have a shape, but just felt like a negative energy and very heavy. I wasn't afraid of it, but I was weary. I let her finish, and then, since she had calmed down, I asked her if she had seen anything, and she said no. But earlier in the night, she had a distinct feeling that someone was standing in the doorway of the room. Now, I'm Christian by faith, so I put out my hand and said something along the lines of, "In the name of Jesus, you do not belong here, and I cast you out." Almost immediately, there was a palpable difference in the room, and the air felt lighter. The room seemed to get brighter as well, and it felt like a huge sense of relief and ease. We were able to talk through what happened and actually go to sleep relatively easily. Like I mentioned before, I have had other experiences, but nothing this dark. Last year, I had a psychic awakening that I am only beginning to understand. I had been hearing voices that identified themselves as various spirits and deities I had never heard of. Everything they told me could be verified by a quick Google search. My best friend heard them as well. I would ask her to ask a question and tell me what she heard to make sure I was not going crazy, and she would repeat what I had heard verbatim. After this time, I had lost my appetite entirely and struggled to maintain 20 pounds below my normal weight. I couldn't sleep, I had panic attacks, and I was incredibly depressed. One voice I heard was profoundly negative. It told me I was the reason my best friend had died in a previous life. It told me to kill myself. It told me that if I didn't go to it willingly, it would kill everyone I loved. It showed me horrific things. Around this time, my best friend mentioned to me that a solar deity she had been in contact with for 7 years had a dark, even sadistic alter ego called Shifran, the Siren. As soon as I heard the name, I began to shake convulsively, and I felt a rage I couldn't quantify. My best friend remembered this thing somehow making her want degrading and violent things to happen to her, as if she deserved them. It was largely the same, and fear attached to these memories that created distance between us. I saw a dark energy cloud disrupting our connection, and tried to clear it, and her behavior and perception of me changed drastically. She told me that a very powerful entity wants me to forget you exist, and it's persistent, and I feel distant, like maybe you aren't real, and she left. Twice she came back and told me, I can't believe he made me leave you to die. The third time she told me the voice was just her negative thoughts, externalized. She blamed me for destroying her sanity, and she never came back. We were like sisters, and for 8 months, she hasn't checked if I was even alive. I was told I am a star-made human, and that I am an energy conduit for a very powerful being. I was told that if that thing in poison, I'm an antidote. But I don't understand how to cope. Everything I know to be true is gone, and I never feel safe. I don't know how much of my pain is related to this entity, and how much is related to the concurrent twin flame journey. And sometimes I think I just want to blame my problems on evil, so I don't have to claim them. I don't know how to reconcile these experiences with free will and a loving universe. Now I know that this is out there, even for people who believe in psychic and metaphysical phenomenon. I really hope someone believes me. Now, all right, yesterday I had made mention of one of the experiences kind of being, if someone in the health field looked or heard that experience, they would most likely diagnose that person as a schizophrenic. And I did read in the comment, a lady that works in the mental health field believes that a lot of the schizophrenic and psychotic cases that are out there are possibly, I don't even want to say spirit, I'm just going to say demon related, which is scary, because how do we distinguish who is mentally unfit and who is actually in connection with entities? If this is crazy, if the mental health world looked into like all of the paranormal cases that people have had and blamed them on mental health rather than paranormal, I'd imagine at least 3/4 of the world would be in straitjackets right now. Think about the amount of people that have seen Dogman, Sasquatch, ghosts. They'd be like, you're seeing things and you're believing it. So I don't know. It's sad. It's really sad. Because, or how about this? Here, this is crazy. I was thinking of this last night. Let's say a child is diagnosed with schizophrenia. Are they misdiagnosed because they're a child? Because supposedly children have a better and easier connection to that side? A lot of this is, now that I'm doing these paranormal encounters and, my recent ghost hunt, I've started getting more questions for myself. Like, it's like my brain is just full of questions and I want answers to every one of them. I know it kind of sounds strange, but I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Sorry for the uh, moment of silence. Today's fourth experience on the paranormal side. When I was 15 years old, a drug deal gone bad resulted in a shooting. A man lost his leg and another ended in jail. My stepdad was a drug dealer. He sold weed, nothing hard like coke or meth as far as I know. Skipping over the specifics on who got hit or why toward the end of the chaotic, impactful night, my biological father came to pick me up. As I climbed into the back seat of his truck, I saw a tall, towering white figure at the edge of the house we lived in. The part of the house where my bedroom was located. I barely caught a glimpse of the figure before it disappeared behind the end of the house. I was positive I was seeing things. There was no way I legitimately saw a glowing figure over 20 feet tall so bluntly in the pitch-black dead of night. I had to have imagined it, right? The experiences I had been through that night must have made my imagination run wild. My stepdad was forced to pull a gun on a man who was trespassing. After repeatedly asking them to leave and calling 911, my stepdad pulled his shotgun from the closet and turned it on the man he faced. I feel lucky that the situation turned out the way it did that night. My stepdad faced two armed men, stood his ground, and protected me, my mom, and my younger sister from these two trespassers who, I might add, were convicted felons recently released from prison. I can't make sense of the bright figure I spotted near my bedroom. Was it my guardian angel? I felt a sense of peace when I saw it. It didn't matter what happened that night. After seeing the figure, I knew everything would be okay, and that I was lucky to walk away from this alive. Today's fifth experience on the paranormal side. I lived in many old, creepy homes. One in particular was worse by far. There was so much demonic activity in that house, which terrified me because I knew about it. My gifts were developing at the time, and I could see/feel it, not to mention the predisposition the house had to it, considering the abuse and misery that pooled there between my crappy family and just being an old house. The area itself was known for paranormal activity, and the mountains surrounding were the origin of countless urban legends. Anyway, I'm lying in bed right now writing this, unable to sleep until I get this off my chest. It fills me with such a heavy anguish every time I think about it, and I just need to get it out. My bedroom was on the second floor. We had an attic we never used, and very creaky floors and stairs. During the summer, when everyone was home all of the time, and our most negative energies were rampant, is when it started. There were precursors to it, but this was absolutely terrifying. I would go to bed around midnight. Every morning, without fail, I'd wake up at around 2:50 a.m., and I would hear slow footsteps creaking in the kitchen, go into the living room, up the stairs, and right outside of my closed bedroom door. I always slept with my dog, and she would bark and scratch and growl at whatever stood outside of my door at 3 a.m. It would stand there for a while, then climb into the attic and walk around slowly. It knew I was scared. It wanted me to be afraid of it. I always put salt at my door and windows because I knew certain entities would notice me once my gifts started to develop. I knew it couldn't come in because of that, but I wondered what I would have seen and what would have happened if I opened that door to look at it. I'm happy I didn't, and I never want to find out. Today's sixth experience on the paranormal. When I was born, my mom did not know she was having twins. When I was born with a twin sister, we were brought home from the hospital to a haunted home. Growing up in the house and my postpartum circumstances of my mom, it all seemed natural to me. I was newborn, as was my sister. We knew nothing else. Our mother thought we were the devil's spawn. My father would change our diapers, feed us throughout the day, get little sleep, and work the night shift. He'd come home on his lunch break at midnight to feed us and clean us and change our diapers. My mother would not come near us. I suspect in my later age she must have been having a mental breakdown that lasted for 18 years. She really was a good person to friends and family, just not us. On with the experience. One night my sister and I were lying in bed getting ready to sleep. We were about 11 years old. We heard heavy horse hooves on the roof of the house. Whatever was making this noise wanted us to know it was there and that it meant business. We huddled together. We had in our room a child-sized little red rocking chair. Besides this rocking chair was a stack of notebook paper for school. That rocking chair started rocking back and forth in a soothing manner. Then one piece of paper rose into the air, and it was crumpled into a ball and thrown at us on the bed. We were as tight as we could be and watched this happen. Then the same thing happened again. All the while the chair was rocking back and forth. Another piece of paper rose, crumbled, thrown. A large, hairy creature with horns tried to get in between us. My twin was paralyzed with fear. I was energized with fear. I ran to my dad's door courageously, running through the long, dark hallway and banged with my fists on his door. My mom always kept their bedroom door locked. My dad came out like the Incredible Hulk to the rescue. He asked what was wrong, and I told him what I could, which wasn't much. I had a speech impediment, so I led him back to the room running and hoping he'd follow. He asked Billy what had happened, who told him even more. Between the very short time that I had left to get help, she told my dad. It had red eyes, horns, and hair all over, and she was scared. She had wet the bed, and even though all of this was happening, she still couldn't move. She was paralyzed with fear. That is just one of many things that occurred in that haunted house. Today's 7th experience on the paranormal side. For a long time, I've had encounters of the paranormal. Most while awake, but there have been a few instances that spirits of loved ones visit my dreams. Back in 2005, I was living in New York. I had moved there from Texas due to heavy involvement in drugs and gangs. I was there for about 5 months, met a girl, and moved in with her and her family. One night, I had an incredibly vivid dream about my grandmother. In my dream, I was walking on a beautiful beach with white sand. Just ahead of me was a canopy or something. You know those pop-up things people put up at picnics and barbecues to give shade. Well, I walked up to it, and there was my grandmother sitting in a folding chair in front of a folding table, wearing a beautiful black dress, totally out of place for where we found ourselves. I sat down in the chair opposite of her and looked around confused. It was an odd scene, to say the least. "Oh, hey," she said, realizing I was there. "Want to play some Uno or dominoes?" We used to play one or the other every time we got together. Still confused, I said, "Sure, but what are you doing here?" As she set up the dominoes and did the whole shuffling thing, she said, "Well, you weren't around, and I wanted to say goodbye." "Goodbye? Where are you going?" I asked. She didn't answer my question, but did say, "Please promise me that you will stay out of trouble and be a good man." "I promise, but where are you going? And what are you doing here?" I asked as I looked out over the ocean. "Remember, I love you," I heard her say. As I turned back to say I love you too, she was gone. I stood up and looked around and saw her walking into the surf. I walked after her saying, "Nanny, Nanny." That's what we used to call her. "Where are you going?" She didn't answer, but kept walking into the ocean until she was completely gone. I was stricken with a sense of panic, but only for a moment, because as I looked around, I realized the canopy chairs and tables were gone, and they had been replaced with a set of wide, white stone stairs, or stadium-type seats, and sitting on all of these were my family, uncles, aunts, cousins, and my mom. I woke up gasping for air with a totally weird feeling of urgency. I had to call and check on my grandmother. I called my mother immediately, and before she could say anything, I asked, "Is Nanny okay?" My mother paused, and I heard a sniffle. "Nanny passed about an hour ago. I was just about to call you and let you know," she said through restrained sobs. The dream suddenly made sense. She had come to me to say goodbye. See, I was raised around my mother's side of the family, who is a bunch of white country folk. I am mixed, and I am a little more brown than the rest of the grandbabies. Growing up, I was treated less than welcome by quite a few family members, but never my grandmother. She loved me like I was just one of the babies, never made me feel unwelcome. If anything, she made me feel more loved than some of the others. We were very close. It was so heartwarming to know that before she left our plane of existence, she came to say goodbye, being thousands of miles away. It is the moment in my life that I will never forget. Wow. With all of the death that I have had around me since 2022, so a month and a couple of days, and all just the other crazy stuff that's been going on in my life, that experience was difficult for me to share. Like, it really, I had a ball in my throat. And at the end, some tears welled up. Getting soft in my old age, folks. Just kidding. Today's 8th experience on the paranormal side. So pretty much at my old house I stayed at from 3rd grade up until 8th. We would come into the house through the garage door on one end of the house, and you walk through, go up one flight of stairs, turn, go up the stairs, and there's a bathroom on the right with a mini hallway, 3 bedrooms. In my room, which was the one at the very end of the main hall on the left, I would constantly see like at least 7 to 9 foot shadow men standing in the middle of my room with some type of hat on its head. He would always be standing right in the middle with his hand outstretched towards the light, and the second I would turn it on, he would disappear. I used to sleep in a bunk bed with a ladder thing to the top, and the thing scared the absolute crap out of me. So I would hang a big quilt blanket over the railing on the top and under the mattress up there so I couldn't see out unless I looked through the ladder at the very end. And I used to sleep with my head on the side so it was easier to see my alarm clock and know what time it was. But one of those nights I woke up and he was crouching down, peering through the ladder at me. I quickly flipped over to the other side of the bed so my back was against the wall, scared, trying to find my phone to shine a flashlight to make him go away. But that was one of the only nights I left it out on the desk by my alarm clock to charge. So I just sat there as well, scared. Couldn't make a noise, and eventually I somehow, at some point, randomly got super tired, even though I felt wide awake, and fell back to sleep. And when I woke up, my blanket I had covered my bed, and the blanket I had on top of me was in the middle of the room on the floor. And from then on, I always slept with at least one of my dogs in my bed at all times, and nothing like that has happened again, except sometimes seeing him when I come home. Also, I'm pretty certain that the house was haunted by more than just him, because there was also a big black dog thing I saw once, and these 2 shadow children in the room next to mine that both me and my brother saw multiple times. Today's final experience on the paranormal side. I've had various encounters, but I want to share two experiences most memorable in my life. The first experience being with the Hat Man. I was very young at the time, I'd say around 12 years old, and it was in the middle of the night, and I couldn't go to sleep. I uncovered my head from under the blanket to be greeted with a man in a hat right aside of my bed. I looked at him, and even though I knew it wasn't my stepdad, my brain couldn't process any other explanation. So I simply called out, "Dad?" And he stood there as still as he had been the whole time. The figure just stared down at me, and I went back under my blanket out of fear. I looked back out a few seconds later to make sure what I saw was real. He was still there. I remember exactly how the figure looked. He was a tall, shadowy-like figure, pure black, with the silhouette of a trench coat and some type of fedora on his head. The most noticeable feature of him that night was different from what I've heard from other people's experiences. When I saw him, his eyes were actually see-through, as if there was no shadow. I could see the light from the hallway of my cracked door through his eyes, while the rest of his body was dark. I truly thought I was the only person to experience this alongside my sister, but it turns out this phenomenon among so many people, which is why I only found out this last year. The second most memorable experience was actually insane. I experienced seeing shadow people a few times before this experience, but what makes this time so scary is that me and my sister saw this shadow figure at the exact same time. I was around 15 years old when this happened. We were going to my grandmother's room of the house to watch TV and eat snacks. As soon as we walked in, I noticed the lamp was on, but there was a human figure in the light of the lamp. I told my sister, look, the lamp's shadow looks like a person. And as soon as she turned to look, the shadow figure raised its hand and waved at us. We literally looked at each other in fear and ran out of the room to the kitchen, freaking out and screaming, trying to tell my grandparents what we had just experienced. I'll never forget that day. I still can't believe we experienced it together. Wow. Tonight's paranormal side was great. I hate saying that. Wow, tonight's paranormal side was totally amazing. I don't think any experience is better than another, but some are just a little more relatable, I guess. And tonight's, a lot of them were, if you think about it, more or less guardians slash guardian angels slash white figures, the good guy. A couple of creepy ones, but there is, and I really never really thought about it like this, but the paranormal has two sides. There's good and there's evil. And the good is sometimes just as startling as the evil. I mean, let's say you're in your home alone and I don't know, wake up and you walk to your kitchen to get a glass of water or something. As you're walking, you see a whitish gold colored angelic entity that means you absolutely no harm. But when you see them at first, that experience you get is fear until you realize, oh my, because we're not prepared for anything out of the ordinary. I think we all should be prepared. We all should have some sort of knowledge that these things are real. It's funny. My parents were just like everyone else's parents. Excuse me, I gotta get a drink of tea. My throat a little raw. My parents were just like everyone else's. Ghosts don't exist. Bad things don't exist. Only bad people. Things like that. And for that one reason, I would never lie to my daughters and say that. My oldest daughter, I remember her being terrified, and instead of saying, baby girl, there is no such thing as this, all I would say is, I will protect you. And that way they know that these things are out there. They're more alert to the hidden agenda, I guess. I don't know what you want to call it. Because if we think about the 1%, the elite, do we honestly think that they are just these righteous people obsessed with money? I don't. And I know the majority of you don't either. I think they are involved in some very deep cult activities which summon entities. And there you have it, folks. I do hope you all enjoyed this early morning, middle of the night bonus as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that helps the channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions. Never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.